Okay, picture this. You're sitting in a physics class, maybe, or you're just staring up at the stars thinking, how did all of this start?
Hmm.
The standard model pops into your head, right? The Big Bang.
That's the narrative we're all familiar with. It's the scientific consensus.
Right. A singularity, an explosion, massive expansion, chaos, eventually cooling down into order.
Yes.
But what if I told you the texts we're looking at today describe it completely differently? What if the universe wasn't banged into existence at all? What if it was cooked?
Cooked is certainly a provocative way to put it.
I mean it, though.
It's definitely not the Big Bang Theory, I'll give you that.
No, literally. I want you to imagine a cosmic chef standing over a pile of
Right.
high-energy dough, tearing off chunks to hand-roll planets.
A striking image.
And that dough, it's actually what we would call a black hole.
And that sets the tone perfectly for the deep dive we're about to take. We're exploring the cosmology of Swefeng, and we're looking at texts like the Life chapter and the Universe Space-Time chapter.
Yeah.
And at the absolute center of this system is an entity they call the Greatest Creator, or Shangdi.
But we have to be super clear right off the bat, because I know what listeners might be thinking. This isn't the, typical Sunday school version of a creator, is it?
Not at all.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this so interesting to me. The definition of the Greatest Creator in these sources, it's not purely religious or mystical.
No.
It's presented as highly structural, almost pseudoscientific. We're not just talking about faith. We're talking about frequencies, antimatter, energy vortexes.
It really feels like theology collided with a quantum mechanics textbook or something. So our mission today is to decode this. We want to understand what the greatest creator is according to these specific texts.
Right.
How this chef actually cooked up the universe. And this is the part that honestly just blew my mind. The specific physical frequency that supposedly connects this creator to your own heartbeat.
It's a fascinating, complex system. So yeah, let's unpack it, starting from the very beginning, or I guess the state before the beginning.
The pre-existence, the texts call it Wuji.
Correct, Wuji. Before the universe, there was this state. And the source material describes it as a void. It specifically says there was no time, no space, no matter, and no spirit.
So absolute nothingness, just a blank screen.
Well, here's the nuance, and it's a bit tricky. It's not nothingness in the sense of being empty. It's described as containing everything yet nothing. It is infinite potential.
The analogy that really helped me visualize this from the notes was the weather. The text says it's like a clear sky before a storm. You look up and there's nothing there. No rain, no clouds. But the potential for the thunder and the lightning is just hanging there. It's latent.
Exactly. The conditions are there, but the event hasn't happened. And the transition from that potential state, Wuji, to the active state, Taiji, is the birth of the creator.
So how does that happen?
The text describes it in a very specific, almost mechanical way. It talks about invisible energy making random movements within that void.
Random movements, that just sounds like chaos.
Initially, yes. But the text argues that eventually, just by sheer probability and chance, these random movements align into a specific order.
A happy accident of cosmic energy.
You could say that. It creates a potential energy vortex. You can think of it like a tornado forming out of still air. And as this energy concentrates at the center, it structures itself.
Okay.
And here is the aha moment in the text. Once that energy becomes structured, it gains consciousness.
Whoa, okay, that's a huge leap. So the greatest creator isn't some guy on a cloud who just decided to build a universe one day.
No.
The greatest creator is this conscious energy vortex that formed out of chaos.
Precisely. The text is very explicit about this. The greatest creator is not a physical being. It is defined as a spiritual antimatter structure.
Okay, we need to pause on that phrase, antimatter structure. That comes up a lot in these documents.
It does.
It sounds like pure sci-fi. Does it mean the same thing physicists mean? Because, antimatter plus matter equals a big explosion.
You're right to question it. In standard physics, yes, antimatter is the opposite of normal matter. But in these writings, antimatter is defined much more broadly. It refers to anything that isn't physical, tangible matter, but still has organization and reality.
So, like thoughts or information.
Yes. Consciousness, time, spirit, rules, information. All of that is considered antimatter in this text because it's real, it has structure, it governs reality. You can't hold it in your hand.
So it's the software, not the hardware.
That is a very apt analogy, yes.
Which brings us back to the hardware, the kitchen. We have this conscious vortex, the greatest creator. How do we get from a spiritual tornado to planet Earth?
This is where we get back to that chef analogy you brought up.
I love this part.
The text addresses black holes. Now, science tells us they are collapsed stars with immense gravity that suck everything in. They're destroyers.
Right, the vacuum cleaners of the universe.
But this theory just takes a sharp turn. It says that black holes are essentially high-energy dough that has been stored away.
Stored away like in a pantry.
Yes. It describes them as high-energy matter aggregates. They are reservoirs. The metaphor is that the greatest creator, along with assistant gods, acts as the chef.
Okay.
They literally tear off pieces of this high-energy dough from the black hole to form celestial bodies.
The mental image of ripping chunks off a black hole to bake a planet, it just completely flips the scary concept of a black hole on its head.
It does, and the timeline here is specific too. The text states our solar system was designed 4.5 billion years ago.
Right.
But here's the twist. Usually the sun forms first, and the planets are just the leftover dust. In this cosmology, Earth was made first.
Earth was the priority.
Explicitly. The text says the sun was transported in later, specifically to serve Earth.
It's like buying a house and then trucking in a furnace.
In a manner of speaking, yes. The whole solar system is seen as a support system just for Earth. It's a very, well, a biocentric view.
Right.
The universe isn't random. It's a nursery built for life.
And the greatest creator didn't do all the work alone, right? There were assistants.
That's right. The text mentions angels, or celestial beings who did the actual terraforming.
And they had labs. I was reading this part and had to double check. The source claims that the pyramids, and not just the Egyptian ones, but ancient pyramids on the ocean floors, were originally laboratories.
Yes. Laboratories for engineering life. This connects to a very strong stance in the text about evolution. It explicitly rejects Darwinian evolution.
The idea of one species slowly morphing into another.
Right. The text had that blunt line, something like, a horse doesn't become a cow.
Exactly.
It argues for distinct, intelligent design. Species were designed one by one in these labs by celestial assistants using genetic blueprints and then distributed via flying saucers to different parts of the planet.
So no Darwin, it's all engineering. The greatest creator is the architect, the angels are engineers, the pyramids are workshops, and UFOs are the delivery trucks.
That's the hierarchy it presents. And it frames the natural world not as a wild accident, but as a manufactured product. But it's crucial to understand that matter itself, the physical stuff, is considered dead weight without a specific input.
This is where we get into the equation of life. I wrote this down because it's so simple but implies so much. 1 + 1 = 1.
It's a recurring theme. Body plus spirit equals life. A body without spirit is just a corpse, a matter structure.
Right.
A spirit without a body is a ghost or a soul. Life only happens when the two combine.
1 + 1 = 1. Two ingredients merge to make one phenomenon. And the source of that spirit, the thing that makes it all work, is the greatest creator.
Correct. The text uses the term Tao, describing it as the blood or spirit of the creator that permeates everything.
But let's get to the frequency part, because usually when people talk about connecting to the universe, it's so vague, it's a feeling, a vibe.
A metaphor.
Yeah, but this text gives us a number, a specific hertz.
It does. It states that the specific frequency of the creator's spirit, or ling, is 1 hertz.
1 hertz, that's a very low frequency.
It is. It's a slow, rhythmic pulse, 1 cycle per second. And the text draws a direct line to human biology here.
Okay.
It notes that the human heart, at a resting state, beats at approximately 60 beats per minute.
Which is, let me do the math, 60 beats divided by 60 seconds.
Nah.
That's 1 beat per second, 1 hertz.
Exactly. The argument is that there's a potential resonance built into our very biology. Our hearts are beating at the same frequency as the heartbeat of the greatest creator.
So we are literally walking antennas tuned to God's station.
That is the implication. The spirit, or ling, that animates us is essentially a vibration wave from the creator. If that signal is cut off, the 1 + 1 equation breaks and the body dies.
That's fascinating. It makes the connection feel so mechanical, almost physics-based, not just emotional. It's like we're all powered by the same cosmic Wi-Fi signal. But if we're all tuned to this frequency, why isn't everyone walking around in a state of enlightened bliss? Why is the world, the way it is?
Well, that brings us to the structure of life itself. The text describes a hierarchy, a ladder of life, with 16 distinct levels.
16? That's a lot of rungs to climb.
It is. At the very top, level 1 is the greatest creator. The text defines this level as a perfect antimatter structure.
And where are we? Humans.
We are at level 5. We are described as defective antimatter structures.
Ouch. Defective. That's a little harsh.
Well, compared to the perfection of the source, yes. Below us are animals, plants, minerals. But the key to this hierarchy isn't just who is on top, it's about the flow of service.
This was an interesting flip on the usual food chain idea.
Right.
We think the grass is for the cow is for the human, and the human is, well, we're the bosses.
The text reframes that completely. It says microbes serve plants, plants serve animals, animals serve humans. But then it keeps going. Humans serve celestials or gods.
Okay.
And gods serve the greatest creator.
So everyone serves upwards, a standard corporate ladder.
Yes, but here is the beautiful inversion. The greatest creator exists to serve all life. The ultimate purpose of the creator is to maintain the order of the universe so life can exist.
So the CEO works for the mailroom.
In a sense, yes, by maintaining the rules of the game. And one of the biggest rules is the zero-sum rule.
This sounded like the physics of karma.
Basically, the idea is that the total energy of the universe is always zero. Positive plus negative equals zero. The creator maintains this dynamic balance.
So if you take something a positive, you have to give something back a negative to balance it out.
Correct. It implies a strict conservation of energy that applies to morality. If you take joy or wealth at someone else's expense, the universe will extract a payment to return the sum to zero. It's not punishment, it's just mechanics.
It makes morality feel less like a judgment and more like accounting.
Exactly. The universe balances its books.
So back to my question, if we're built to resonate on 1 hertz, what's blocking the signal? Why are we defective?
The source material uses a great analogy here. The sponge and the iron.
I liked this one. It's very visual.
It asks, how does the sponge connect with water?
Right.
It connects because it's porous. It's empty inside. It can absorb. A block of iron, on the other hand, is solid. It's full of itself, so to speak.
So it absorbs nothing.
It absorbs nothing. So to increase your ling, your spiritual connection, you have to be a sponge. You have to be empty.
And empty here means emptying the heart of selfishness, greed, attachment.
Precisely. The text is quite harsh on selfishness. It defines it not just as a bad habit, but as a cancer cell in the life gene.
A cancer cell, that is intense terminology.
It is, but it fits the metaphor. A cancer cell takes resources for itself and destroys the host. The greatest creator is selfless, serving all life. So if you're selfish, you are structurally incompatible. You're vibrating at the wrong frequency. You're creating static.
There was a specific detail about wealth that stood out here. It's probably going to ruffle some feathers, but we have to report what's in the text.
Yes, the source says that wealthy people have a very difficult time entering the higher levels of life, what we might call heaven. Because wealth, by this definition, implies selfishness. It implies holding onto resources while others do not have them. That act of holding on makes you a block of iron, not a sponge.
So being full of stuff means you can't be filled with spirit.
Exactly. To ascend the ladder from level 5 to higher levels, one must become selfless. One must empty the heart.
And this connects back to that 1 hertz frequency.
It does. The signal is always broadcasting. The creator is always pulsing. But if your internal structure is clogged with the static of selfishness, you simply don't resonate.
It really reframes the whole idea of spirituality. It's not about learning more. It's about unlearning or clearing out the junk so the physics can work.
That is a great way to put it. It's a subtractive process. You aren't trying to find the signal, you're trying to stop jamming it.
So let's zoom out and look at the big picture we've painted here. We started with a chef ripping dough from a black hole.
A vivid, concrete cosmology.
We established that the greatest creator isn't a person, but a conscious antimatter vortex vibrating at 1 hertz.
A structural definition of the divine.
And we learned that the universe operates on a strict service model, where even the top dog exists to serve the little guys, and everything is balanced by a zero-sum energy rule.
Which enforces a kind of mechanical, moral law of cause and effect.
It's a wild mix of high-concept physics and deep spiritual ethics. And one thing that text mentioned we should touch on is the permanence of life.
Yes, the concept of life as a constant.
Right. It says the total amount of life in the universe never changes.
This ties right into the conservation of energy. Forms change. You might be a human today, an animal tomorrow, but the total quantity of life essence is fixed.
So it's a closed system.
Where nothing is ever truly lost, only transformed. It's reincarnation as a law of thermodynamics.
Which removes the fear of non-existence, I guess. You don't disappear, you just change your antimatter structure.
Based on your consciousness.
It brings it all back to that chef If we are just ingredients in this cosmic kitchen, it sounds like we have a choice on what kind of dish we want to be part of.
We do. We can choose to be the cancer cell, the selfish knot that refuses to flow, or we can choose to be the sponge, permeable and resonating with that fundamental 1 Hz frequency.
It's a lot to think about. Usually when I check my pulse, I'm just making sure I'm alive after a workout.
And now?
Now I'm wondering if I'm just broadcasting static or if I'm actually picking up the signal.
That is the question the source leaves us with. If the creator's frequency is 1 Hz and your heart beats at a 1 Hz, are you constantly broadcasting? And is the only thing blocking that signal your own mental clutter?
Something to mull over next time you're sitting in traffic. Check your signal strength.
Indeed. Clear the static.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating, weird, and wonderful world of Schwuming's cosmology.
It was a pleasure to unpack it.
And to you, the learner, thanks for listening. Keep those hearts open and empty. We'll see you next time.